Hello everyone, I'm Tony Southcott.
And I'm Komette, and welcome to the Gorehounds Playground here in Fort Collins, Colorado. This is Booze and Booze, where we pair different alcoholic drinks with our reviews of horror movies.
And today we're talking about The Possession of Hannah Grace. It's a movie from a very oddly named Dutch director, starring Shay Mitchell and Kirby Johnson.
Now, let's go to the Gorehounds kitchen where I'm going to show you this week's drink. Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a drink that I like to call the Demon's Mark. It's really yummy, and this recipe is for two friends. First thing what you're going to do is you're going to grab your Boston shaker and fill it up with ice, which I've already done. Then you're going to get your jigger and add 1 ounce of vodka, 1 ounce of peach schnapps, and then 2 ounces of Hypnotiq. This is what's going to give it its really nice color. After that, you're going to get the top of your Boston shaker and shake it up. Now, strain into your shot glass. And there you have it, the Demon's Mark.
In the name of the Holy Spirit.
Well, we just finished up with another Possession Morgue movie that we didn't know was going to be pretty similar to something we already reviewed on Booze and Booze.
Yeah, I gotta admit, so I suggested this movie, and it is very, very similar to a movie we just did a couple weeks ago called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. If I would have known that, we probably wouldn't have reviewed it.
Yeah, like it's something where we should have looked a little bit more at trailers and stuff, but that's what happens. But we're here to review it anyway, and it's weird because it's hard not to make the comparisons to that movie because they came out in a very similar era, like just within a couple of years of each other, and this one did not seem to measure up to the emotion of the first one. This is a more action-oriented possession movie. Or not even really possession because the other one wasn't possession, but they had a lot of the same elements.
If we hadn't have seen Autopsy already, I think I would have liked this movie a lot more. But as I was watching it, like Tony said, I couldn't help but compare it. It did have a lot more maybe quote-unquote action-y scenes instead of like creepy. Some of the imagery was creepy, I have to admit, but it just doesn't compare. Autopsy was a lot better for me.
It also didn't feel like an actual hospital morgue.
No.
Like the way it felt like with these giant monolithic hallways made of concrete. Like, yeah, that could be what a basement looks like, but the way they even built like the crematorium and all this, it felt like it was
moody.
More like a comic, like in some ways, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you're trying to sell like realism, it didn't feel as solid to me.
And there was a few things that I think, like, logistically, if you were working a night shift at a morgue, they wouldn't have sensor lights that went off every 30 seconds, I feel like.
A lot of this movie is like,
yeah,
like just waving and everything. And, like, that can be a cool thing whenever you do it, but it can't be a running gag like the whole movie.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this movie did have some interesting character stuff, but so did Hannah Grace, and I hate that we keep comparing it to that.
Yeah.
But, like, this one was about a cop who didn't pull the trigger whenever her partner got shot, and, like, she got into substances, and she's basically, like, recovering, and that's why she ended up at a job, like, doing the night shift at a morgue.
See, I still feel like her character was really flat.
Yeah.
I don't think there was much progression with her. I think this movie was a little bit rushed. I think one of the reasons why, and I'm so sorry to do this, why Autopsy did a lot better is because Autopsy was very confined, and we talked about that. It was only on one little floor. It was maybe 3 rooms in an elevator.
Yeah, 3 to 4 characters if you count a cat.
Yeah, and I feel like this movie brought the scope out a little bit too much.
Yeah. And I think the only reason they brought the scope out at all was to add fodder for killing.
Yes.
Like the security guards and stuff like that. Like, you knew that this little, like, wiener security guard with an afro was going to get killed.
Yeah.
Like, you knew that, like, just when the movie started out. There was no way he was making it to the end.
No.
It's just something where, like, it was just a little too predictable with the way things are going. It's like they endear you to the EMT guy because they're going to kill him. Also, late stage, like 3/4 of the movie exposition drops are just weird.
What do you mean by exposition?
Like she's talking to the guy that's the EMT driver, and like he just shows like the picture of his son. It's just like a drop, and it's like like, I know that they're trying to show that this guy's sympathetic, but whenever they're building up a character like that, it's just so they can make it more impactful whenever somebody gets killed.
Right.
Like, there's a way to do it, and there's a way to not do it, and I felt like that was just a little bit ham-handed. I will say the effects as far as, like, bone breaks and things like that, especially in the very first opening scene of the movie, like, where you're just seeing bones contort, and they're doing practical effects, and that stuff looks good.
I wonder, I thought the same thing, and I wondered if the actress was a dancer.
Yeah, I keep wondering if she's a contortionist or if she's a dancer or what the deal is with that.
Yeah.
It actually had a few things that rung like Suspiria as
Yeah.
far as that scene went, or a couple scenes. So I'm gonna end up doing a little more. You'll see something on the bottom if she is indeed a dancer. Kirby Johnson, I think, is her name.
She did really well. I think she
was a lot more dynamic than the Jane Doe girl.
She really was, but that's kind of what made Jane Doe scary to me,
Yeah.
though, is that there wasn't any emotion, there wasn't any movement. It was just pure magic in that. I do got to say one other thing. I feel like the climax came and went for me, and I missed it. I was definitely watching. I watched this really late at night by myself. I wanted to try to hype it up as much as possible.
Yeah, I did as well. It was very late at night. Like, it was fully dark. I was with a friend who screams at, like, the slightest thing in horror movies.
Yeah, I was
fell
alone.
asleep.
Yeah.
But, in the first few minutes, there was a few screams. It was like, there are some intense things in here, especially with possession, if that's sort of your thing.
But the climax came and went for me, and I was like, wait, there has to be something more. And there wasn't anything. Even at the last scene, I was like, oh, a demon's mark is going to show up.
Yeah,
and
I thought, like,
really...
you'd see, like, someone's eyes change or
yeah,
something like
and
that.
no.
It also felt weird to me that if you're going to, like, empty a clip into somebody, that you wouldn't, like, try for the headshot when they're, like, right in front of you.
Well, I think in, like, police training, you're not supposed to go for headshots.
Yeah, but if, like, you've put 8 bullets into something that's obviously already dead, you go for the headshot.
I don't think logically you do. I think, like, in, like, supernatural, like, fiction you do.
Yeah, but if something's opening its mouth to the size of, like, they could swallow
Fair.
a bowling ball, like,
Fair.
you just go for it. That's a small complaint. It just felt a little bit weird to me. It did, like, she did have good discipline with that. She was fine with the gun. But it also was something where, like, they were trying to make her haunted in a way that she would have inaction whenever she was under pressure.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes into the movie, she acts under pressure when people break into the hospital.
Yeah, and bring
Like,
a knife on her.
What they needed to do for a movie like this is to show progression of a character where, like, they show her, like, she's frozen, and then she acts and she's wondering why it takes so long to get there. Like, that seems like it would be natural character progression. It's like whenever you're talking about a hero, they get their ass kicked by the new villain in the first part of a movie because they're not good enough and they have to rise above. And I never got the feeling that she rose above. I feel like she was just ready and primed to go.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this movie just kind of fell flat for me. The sound editing wasn't great. There was some creepy cinematography, particularly the roof scene was well. But I think it reminded me way too much of Lights Out.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think there's a
Lights
lot
Out
of...
was better than this, though.
Yeah. Well, I think they stole it from
Yeah,
that. I think
definitely.
they took aspects from other stuff that they just weren't able to do it as well.
I also felt like they did a lot of things that were based on, like, rule of creep versus actually effective.
Yeah.
Because, like, the reason she's crawling at the beginning is because she's all messed up. And then, like, the reason she's crawling at the end is because it looks creepier than having something walk. And
Yeah.
it's like, it didn't feel like there was a lot of progression there. It's like, yeah, have her crawl up the walls. That's creepy enough. But she should probably be walking around the halls instead of, like, sauntering around. That could be just a stylistic choice in how the demon or whatever possessed her moved. But it was...
I think Hereditary did it better.
Yeah. I think Hereditary and, like, Jane Doe and a lot of these just did that better.
Just, I think all the aspects. And then they bring in things like the quote-unquote the demon's mark, and then they don't really bring it up later. It's just they set up all these dominoes that I think could have been done really well, where everything laid out, and you're like, okay, but the space in between them was just too much.
Yeah, and, like, if you want to go with the domino analogy, it's more like there was, like, 5 little things instead of, like, a whole series of things that cascaded. It was like, this is this is why they know it's not, like, she died 3 months ago, spooky.
And why didn't she kill her?
I don't.
They didn't explain.
Yeah, they didn't explain that. Like, I'm sure there was some reason, and she probably would have at the end, but she never went after the girl, which...
Never.
If you're having, like, the main girl be the focus of the movie, she should be in more peril.
Yeah.
Like, does she even get hurt?
No.
Like, I
She
think
gets scared. She
gets
throws
scared,
a ball at her.
and she, like, I think she gets thrown around a little bit. But I don't think she actually gets injured, not like everybody else.
No,
in
she
this
chokes
movie.
her for a split second.
Oh, yeah. Like, I also thought that, like, usually with good possession stuff, you've got a little bit of the character getting confused over, like, who's actually in there. Is it the girl? Is it the demon?
Mm-hmm.
And some part of me is glad that they just went with the demon because this girl is supposedly dead. But then they did something at the last second where it was like, oh no, save me, for like a 16th of a second. And I feel like if they would have played that out, it might have made the ending a little more poignant.
Yeah.
Like, if they would have made that just, like, heart-wrenching, like, they could have done more with that ending.
The epilogue was weird. The whole thing was just... It
rang like a second draft written by somebody who is getting into Hollywood and hasn't had enough screenplays to really get their film chops yet.
What was that book that was about the dragon that the, like, kid wrote?
Aragon?
It's the Aragon of...
Yeah, like, so, like, say some 16-year-old kid with some writing talent, but he's still 16 and not experienced, wrote this. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. And he took aspects from all of his favorite horror movies.
I would say that the shooting of the film wasn't that bad. Like, the directing, the coloring, the mood
cinematography-wise, it was well
Yeah.
done. And that's why I think the reason that this isn't, like, a 0 out of 0 is because there was some creepy... moments.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate rating on IMDb was like a 5.1. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that's pretty accurate this time.
I feel like that's higher than most horror movies. Most horror movies get like a 2.
That's true.
And
That's
then they're
true.
ranked better. Okay, let's go down the list. Did you like it?
Meh.
No. I didn't like it. I was by myself at 2 o'clock in the morning watching it, and it didn't scare me. So, yeah, did it scare you? No. I think I made a face maybe once or twice.
Yeah, they had some ham-handed jump scares.
Yeah.
I probably made a face too because it was like, oh, that looks uncomfortable.
Yeah. Rewatchability.
Very little.
No, none.
This
We
is a
rented
movie-
this,
yeah.
and it was just not...
I was like, I paid $6 on Amazon
I did.
for this?
I did. I paid $6 on Amazon to do it, and it was not worth it at all.
Yeah.
Is there any more on my list? I don't remember.
I think that's the main ones.
Yeah. Well, you let us know what you think if you've seen this. Maybe we are way off the target and you absolutely adored this movie. If you did, let us know. If you agree with us, also let us know. Like and subscribe. If you haven't watched our new series called Original versus Remake, you should check it out.